I started the Conversation Project while I was going through my mother's own last years, months, days of life. We had never talked about her wishes for end-of-life care. From time to time, she would say something like, if I'm ever like that, pull the plug. But of course, when she became ill, there was no plug to pull. And also, my mother had dementia at the end, so we were not able to have any conversation about what her wishes were. So I was her healthcare decision maker, and in the last months, years really, I had a cascading number of decisions to make for which I assure you I was totally unprepared and in fact blindsided. What I learned from the experience of talking about my mother's end of life is that guess what? This experience is far too common. Far too many of the people we love are not dying in the way that they would choose. Far too many of their survivors are left guilty, depressed, uncertain about whether they have done the right thing. 70% of people say they want to die at home, and 70% of people are dying in hospitals and institutions. That's just a huge disconnect between what people wish and what happens. We can change that. That's why the Conversation Project emphasizes having a talk about values, about what matters to you, not what's the matter with you, but what matters to you and what's important for you to think about at the end of their life. Are you a person who wants all the information, or do you want just enough? Are you someone who is going to make all decisions for yourself, or do you want your family to be involved? What's important to you at the end of life? Then you've given them a real staff, a guide. We started the Conversation Project with just a small group of people around a table. When we sat down, we brought in experts in the field, and it was the experts in the field who told us that if we're going to change the way people die in America, we have to go outside the medical system and change the cultural norm from not talking about what we wanted at the end of life to talking about it. One of the things that the conversation does is tell your parents that you're going to be there for them, that you're not going to leave them isolated in the hands of strictly medical people. The medical community is just beginning to be conversation ready. A generation ago, we transformed how people were born. It was not the medical profession that said, come into the hospital with your video camera, let's have a baby in a bathtub, and don't all the husbands want to come into the birthing room? It was not, I assure you. Birth is a human experience, not just a medical experience. And part of what we're doing in talking with people is recapturing and saying, dying is part of the human experience. It's part of a natural progression in life. We have the capacity to transform how people die in this country. I think everybody does have an idea of what a good death would be. When you ask people, the word that comes up the most is peaceful. The Conversation Project is very much about connecting. It's about sharing, and it's about being open and loving to each other through a very difficult journey.